merely just to get you excited and get you over to YouTube. Are we live on YouTube now?
Live on YouTube, that's just slightly delayed.
Right, because I've just spent 2 minutes talking about the fact that it's nighttime here in Australia. It's afternoon
if you
in
manage
Europe.
a team, you have to try Monday.
And now we're watching an
Monday.com is
ad
a platform to track
something.
everything your team is working
What
on.
are you doing, Tyler? This is my son Tyler, who's doing the technical side of things. And I do thank you for joining us today. It's afternoon in Europe and morning in the US of A. I'm keen to see where you're from. I know that Art Keaty is here. He's from Singapore, and we have a number of people up there. Lloyd Cant, the lovely Lloyd Cant, who can't spell your. Lloyd, come across to YouTube where you can get your questions answered by jumping straight up on Super Chat, as Druseth F1 has done before, and I would dare say we're going to have my good friend Laxwi join us, and he will be promoting for everyone to get onto Super Chat so that you go to the head of the queue. Hello, Jade Moore. Hello to Joe Davey. Looking forward to this. Now, Joe, I was just saying when I was talking to you, but of course I wasn't talking to you because we weren't actually live, that there has been a development today in Britain, where the British government have just said anyone coming back from Spain must now quarantine for 14 days upon getting back to the UK. Now, that is going to severely impact any of the teams. If they go to Barcelona and race, they will then, and Barcelona is in lockdown again, but apparently that's just the city. The track is at Montmello, which from memory is about a 35-minute drive from the city, and the only thing you need to do in Montmello is wear a mask, and of course everyone is wearing masks at the track, where everyone, so that may affect. I just knocked the camera. My apologies.
Knocked the entire desk.
Yeah, I know. So that may affect whether the teams are allowed to go back into Britain after the Barcelona race, if indeed they do race there, because if they're forced to stay away, that's quite a lot of money. That's some 1,500 odd people have to budget for another. I'm guessing for those teams that go back to Britain, those people all have to budget for another 7, 8, 9 nights accommodation away, and that's a huge impost on the teams. It might be easier for F1 to say, look, Barcelona is just too tricky, and they've had some horrible stats too with COVID. They may find that it might be easier just to say, right, let's just do 3 races in a row at Silverstone. So your questions, please fire them at me, and let's see. The audio quality isn't as good as on Insta.
It's because the audio was clipped.
He's fixed it.
Should be good now.
Is it just me, or is the audio kind of weird? It cuts out every half a second. Yes, says FHG88. They will have to quarantine for 2 weeks, and that's no joy.
If it's glitching now.
Audio is choppy, says Ron Kelly. That's no good. We might maybe unplug and plug the microphone again, says Druthers. Yeah. Turn off and turn on again. Newcastle, UK. G'day, boys. Good to see you again, says Raymond Jubb. What am I going to talk about? Oh, okay. So let's go back and talk about what actually happens at the races now with COVID. And I'll talk about from a photographic standpoint, because originally F1 didn't want to have any photographers at the races. But there was some pressure put on them by some of the big agencies and the teams certainly, and it was agreed that each team, the 10 of them, would have one photographer in their garage. Now, that photographer has to wear the team shirt. He is effectively part of the team. He has to stay with the team in their bubble, and he cannot go outside the bubble. So if he wants to go and see his mate down at 3 teams down, can't do it. Got to stay inside his bubble. Now, for the stuff that I do, which is lots of people shots, I wouldn't be able to get them at these races because there is not much movement at all in the paddock. There's another, I'm guessing, 10 to 12 photographers allowed in, and they are not allowed into the paddock. They can go into the media centre and they can go out on track. So the 2 sets of photographers cannot meet, and that is a little tricky. So as I said, the pics that I would normally get, I couldn't get. So I'm not all too concerned the fact that I haven't had an invite, and really normally at a race there's over 100 photographers, and at the moment there are 22 allowed to go to each race, which is disappointing, but as I said, if I'm not going to get the shots I want, there's probably not much point me being there. Now, will that free up? Yeah, maybe it will. Although, in order for it to free up, I think what has to happen is that COVID has to be seen to be pretty much under control, and then nobody has to wear masks. Now, I don't think we're going to get to that situation this year. I'd like to think at some point they'll have crowds in, but I don't think they'll have a full stadium. And I'd like to think that at some point we're invited back. But I think most of us that aren't there, we're all probably figuring that we're not going to get there this season 2020. Okay, let's go to some of your questions. Covering the face with his hands, I first thought that cabinet wow was a young female. Somebody's noticed your shirt, Tyler.
Yeah, so I've diagnosed the problem and start the string up it really.
Yeah,
and
fine,
fixes it.
fine. Does that change the link?
Also,
Hello, Simon Beasley. Thank you for subscribing.
alright, well,
Bad audio. Right.
yeah, so it's out.
Okay.
Fine, so we'll be right back in 2 seconds.
We're live again. I was just reading a couple of your comments here. You know what I'm probably going to put? Emmanuel Gusso. Why is it I worked in F1 merch sales? We're live again. I was just reading random comments here. I can't even understand that question, so I probably shouldn't have picked that one. They should race at Barbagallo Raceway, says Nicholas. Now, for those, why is it I worked in F1 merch sales reference? That's the local Perth. I was just track random comments. You have V8s out there, so I probably shouldn't have picked that track. Driven it a number of times when I used to do my rallying on the outskirts of town. They will not be having Formula One there, I promise you, although we are very lucky in this state that we have had very few cases of COVID. We can walk around without masks. It's been an absolute dream run for us, and we had 30,000 at the stadium last week and the week before for a football match here, and very nearly had 60,000, but they postponed that for a couple of weeks. Now, Melbourne, where the Australian Grand Prix is held, is having a terrible time. And it looks very doubtful that they're going to get this under control anytime soon. And I think I've probably mentioned this a couple of times in posts on Instagram. There's very little chance that the Australian Grand Prix will lead off race season next year. I don't think it's even possible, because there's not much chance it will be allowing incoming flights into Australia. Certainly this year, and possibly not even till mid next year, if then, unless there's a virus. And when Tyler's finished, I'm going to quickly clean those for me, mate.
So, something to do with you.
What is my favourite F1 driver you like to take pictures of? FHG88. I'd always say Nico Hulkenberg, but of course he's no longer.
Hey, do you see something cool?
You show me.
I'm going to cut you off.
Right.
Put your head in the center of the screen.
In the centre?
In the center of the screen.
What? Move here?
Move your head to the center of the screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got that?
Yeah.
Ready?
Yeah. Right.
Because it keeps dropping out.
So this is not very entertaining for anyone watching, I imagine. Have you done it? I think we should give up this. Barros, great to see you again. I thought you said aging there. Hello from Germany. Wie geht's? Gut, danke. Und Ihnen? Ich bin Kim. Well, ich heiße Kim. I did 5 years of German at school, but yeah. What else can I tell you? What do you think of the shots that you're getting, the photos you're getting on the internet from races? The car pics are fine, no different at all, except no crowd in the background. But just the driver portraits in the paddock, horrendous with everyone wearing the mask. It's just bloody awful. Thoughts on the new tracks? I know nothing about Portugal. I know nothing about the Nürburgring, and I know nothing about the other one, Imola. So I'm more interested in your thoughts. Remember, if you want to get to the head of the queue, jump on Super Chat and you can bypass this lengthy queue. How many people on here, Tyler? 68. So it's a very leisurely little group here. Riley M. I live in Perth, but I was lucky enough to have met you in the paddock in Abu Dhabi last year. What are your thoughts on the new circuits? Yeah. I was disappointed Hockenheim wasn't in. Although if I wasn't going to be there, perhaps it wasn't going to really disappoint me too much. But I loved Hockenheim last year. Track-wise, to get to the far end of the track is a fair hike, but certainly the stuff around the stadium I really enjoyed, and I thought there were a number of great shots to be had. Why do you have a Mona Lisa image in every room, says Harry Redshaw? Because my son went and bought them at the IKEA sale. This is actually touching, isn't it? So I can't touch the desk.
Right.
Yeah, he bought them at IKEA, and did you resell a couple? Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of reselling, these prints behind me are from my garage, but you can have canvas prints sent direct to you. Any of my pictures that you love, order it online. You can order the print up as large, not quite as big as that online, but you can order 24 by 36 inches, 2 by 3 foot, the old scale, and they'll be delivered to almost any country in the world. And they're pretty darn good prices, high quality, and just come ready to hang. Stick them on your wall. We can go together to the Nürburgring. I do DTM there. Right, DTM, for those not in the know, is the local series in Germany for sports. Are they saloon cars? What are they there? They're same as in Australia for the V8s, whatever they're. Are you planning to travel any races, says Rajat? Is that rupees? Are you from India, Rajat? Because I have a lot of following in India, and I'm delighted that you're excited about Formula One there. Well, in order for us photographers, and as I said before, there's probably about 90 that can't go to each race. Now, a lot of those will be local guys, local media, but for those of us that aren't invited, we just have to wait until things open up. And as I said before, I think it's looking doubtful they will open up paddock any more people. I think for the whole of this year, we may well be stuck with very few people in the paddock. And when you watch this on television, which I have no doubt that you are, remember, Instagram people, you can come over to video to YouTube. When you watch it on telly, you'll see that there's no one hanging around in the paddock. Dead. You could shoot a rifle down there and hardly touch anything. And as you've already seen, that we have the different hospitality suites for the drivers. They're effectively 3 demountables, 3 of those sea containers in a U shape, and 1 for each driver and 1 for the team to use. In answer to your question, Rajat, I'm in the hands, like all of us are, in the FIA and Formula One. They have to invite us, in which case we can then go.
Okay, can we stop the stream again 1 second? I've got one more thing worth trying.
Okay, and we are back
on again on YouTube.
Hello,
Hopefully
YouTube
it's
people.
Fixed. I'm really trying. Sorry, gang. I'm very much trying.
Yeah, but that's a really lovely track, that Hungaro Ring. As photographers, love shooting it because there's lots of spots that we can go to where there are no patrons, where we have no wire above the fence, and it's just a lovely. The worst tracks that we go to, photography-wise, are the ones, the street circuits with that wire every. Just horrid for getting around. But I have this beautiful lens from Laowa, which is a long, snooty thing. It's a probe lens, and I had hoped to have used it this year because Laowa gave it to me for the year to have a play with. The beauty of it is it's got this very small opening like that, and you can actually get it through the gap in the armco, push it out, you just place it so it doesn't protrude, and you get some stunning shots. And where it would really have come into its own is in Monaco, because the cars get so close, sometimes they brush the fence, and we could have actually used it there. But thank you to Laowa. I do hope that I get a chance to use it this year at some point. You are a great salesman, RJ Heat says. Well, thank you very much for that. But unless you've bought anything, I'm a lousy salesman. But yes, you can buy canvas prints. And of course, my F1 driver books have been a huge hit. The most popular one, Daniel Ricciardo, and I've actually got copies of that in Australia that I can sign for you and send it to you, and you'll get that in a couple of days. Everything else is printed on demand out of China, and it's a beautiful quality book. I spent ages trying to find someone that would do this. I kept knocking back every single one, then I came across this mob, and they're lovely. So kimillman.com, you can get on there and order your favourite driver book. What track is my favourite in terms of the quality of racing, not taking pictures? Thank you, Ron. No, Drusith.
Drusith.
What
Oh,
is
wait,
what
not
is the
Drusith.
what is the what is the currency? What is Ron? What is Ron?
Where are you from? I
Yeah.
can't remember.
Tell us, Ruth. Now, for racing, exciting. Well, I just go back to Germany last year because a lot happened for me in that race. Certainly not Monaco because recession really. I don't know that I really know the answer to that question. I'm just going to have to say Germany because of that one particular race, which I did adore. I also like staying in Mannheim, which I thought was a lovely little city, and I stayed at the Radisson Blue. Lovely rooftop bar. No pool though, and it was very hot. What am I? Romania.
Yeah.
From
Right.
Bucharest. Are you from Bucharest? That is the capital of Romania. Power lines must be the arch enemy of the professional photographer. Yeah, power lines, cranes that are in the background of shots, portable toilets, utility cars that zoom up and down that get in the back of our shots, and pointed out to me very early on in my short F1 career, 3 years, that you really have to pay attention to what's in the background. The longer I go, the smarter I get in that. Sometimes I do get distracted and anyway, what's going on up here, Ty? Why aren't those people comments moving on?
Anyone is?
Okay.
I think that's why.
Right. How many scarves do I own? Well, I got about 4 or 5 now, but my wife has about 70, maybe 90.
It's a lot of scarves.
Yeah.
There is a scarf tour at the back end of
Yes.
one video.
Which video was
I cannot
that?
remember which. Kim Illman and Die Hard.
Yeah,
I remember. I
scarf
can't remember
tour.
which video.
Now, Mike Farrell. Hello, Mike. You're in Houston, Texas. Now, you've been hit hard with coronavirus. I know that much. For an English expat, you're there. Well, I imagine you'll be playing it low key. And I hope you're wearing a mask and staying away from large gatherings. I didn't go to Houston when I was there last year. I know a couple of the drivers went out to the NASA headquarters and had a play around there, and that would have been very exciting. But I instead just killed a couple of days in Dallas. I went and did the book depository tour, and I absolutely loved it. You did it, didn't you? Yeah.
Tour.
Did you go to Texas? No, Tonya did it with Natalie, and my wife did it. Lewis Hamilcube asks, do you realistically think George Russell will get a Mercedes seat by 2020, considering how stable a setup Mercedes has with Mr. Bottas and Mr. Hamilton? And here's my other son blabbering on. He'll
I
come.
won't be able to hear.
He will come in this room. You watch.
Won't.
Oh, okay. Do I realistically think? I got no idea. I'll be upfront with you. Look, if Valtteri doesn't do too well next year, maybe they'll give him the arse. Can't see Lewis not doing well. I think Lewis wins everything. He's just simply that far ahead of everybody else, and the car is the goods. I think George has got a little bit of a weight in front of him unless Valtteri falls on his sword. And I hope he doesn't, because I like Valtteri. He's a fine man, very calm, and always a delight to speak to. And he deserves, well, I guess you get what you deserve. So I'd like to see him win a couple more. Why exactly your son stays in the frame? What does he bring to the visual exactly? Are we seeing the F1 production standing in the camera? I don't know. Tyler is here to direct me to various questions that I don't see while I'm answering your question. By all means, jump onto YouTube and get onto Super Chat if you want to jump to the head of the queue. Do you think they should have Kyalami? Now, where's that? Yeah, you can find out for me. I won't guess. Yes, I have another son, Drusith. Kim, what was the first track you ever shot on in Formula One? My first track was Barcelona at testing. It was in 2017. Yeah, I shot some pics at Abu Dhabi in 2016 and, of course, in Adelaide, but that just as a punter and behind the wire like everybody else. But my first real up close was Barcelona testing 2017. It was a buzz. And I look at that time, I thought, realistically, if I only just get a day's photographing at testing, I'd be a happy man. And I was happy. Very exciting, and I thought my pictures were okay, and turns out they were. But I think everybody starts off like that in motorsport. How would your knees feel if you got to photograph Lewis? Why, are you referring to the kneeling thing? I don't know. It certainly is a contentious issue, and I noticed too that on my video, my Angela Cullen video, it's had a lot of comments, a lot of negative stuff about Lewis. Clearly, there's a little bit of a divide there. As you can imagine, it's a pretty controversial thing, but some people certainly don't like that whole thing. Others are behind it. But a split, as you often do in life.
Is if Kyalami's South Africa.
Oh, yes. Okay.
That's
Is that where they had the special... Did that thing even go ahead, that special South African thing? Or was that wrecked by COVID? Look, I wouldn't mind South Africa. It's a short trip for me. It's only 10 hours.
To every other.
Why?
It's really different. They don't have anywhere.
No. And I imagine that question was asked perhaps by a South African.
I would assume.
Discord and join, says Simon Beasley.
Simon, I think, is referring to some stuff that you can't do on the YouTube streams.
Okay. Now, I am rather excited to see Michael Hood has joined the stream today. Now, Michael Hood was instrumental in my youngest son, getting a Rolex watch. And if you do see Michael at a nightclub or one of those public toilets, have a chat with him about that and ask why he had an influence on my son getting a Rolex watch. No, it was cancelled due to COVID. I thought so, Nicole. And South Africa has been rather savagely hit, I read. As has Barcelona. We mentioned that early on for those of you who have just joined the stream. We were talking about the fact that British going back into Britain after being in Spain, not just Barcelona, but anywhere in Spain, now have to quarantine for 2 weeks, and that may well have a big impact on the decision to race in Barcelona come 3 weeks' time. So there you go. Do you think Vettel and Aston Martin is a good partnership? I think it's turned out pretty bloody good. If Vettel gets that seat that obviously would be vacated by Checo because they'd pay him out, Sebastian might be coming into the right team at the right time. And maybe Ferrari going backwards is just pure bad luck for Carlos Sainz. Who knows? But Daniel Ricciardo's got to be feeling pretty happy. He's getting out of Renault, seem to be bogged down and struggling, and heading to a team that has shown they could be competitive. And I think under Andreas Seidel, that team has done exceptionally well. They should be pretty happy at McLaren, and delighted to see they sorted out that money situation weeks ago.
Someone was saying very nice words about the Angela Cullen video, which is nice. That's an older video.
Yeah, it is. It's one of the first ones. And I remember waking up the morning after I put it, because I normally put them up at night Australian time. I woke up in the morning and I thought, shit, this one's gone bunter. And turns out that people really wanted to know a lot about her. So did Britta, and even the women of F1, women of the paddock video. No, the WAGs. Has just continues to go, and I'm so disappointed that like 3 weeks after I released that, Charles split up with his girlfriend, and a few weeks later it was Valtteri splitting up, and there are a couple more that have split up. I don't know with general knowledge on a couple of them, but anyway, it has dated, but still well over 750,000 people.
Yeah, I think it's 1,000.
No, it's more than 700. Yep.
It's worth the update then. Might be worth
Well, I
updating
don't
it.
know, because there's no new girlfriends to replace. Oh, it is with Valtteri, and with Charles, but yeah, I think we're short of a couple of women. We're going to have to, and I need more pictures of them too. So we'll see what happens. But that's been a very nice little money earner, that particular video. So thank you to those people who just watched it. All you have to do is watch these videos from start to finish. It helps out with 0.1 of a cent or whatever it is. No one's ever going to get rich from it, but it covers the electricity that it cost me to. Was it water or vodka? Water. Drink vodka. Not a fan of vodka. Do you think Lando and Ricciardo will bring McLaren back to the front fighting? I think they're both very good drivers. They're great PR guys for the team and lovely fellows, but the car has to be, doesn't it? It has to be. I don't think anyone can be better than Mercedes. Jake Swan, hey mate, would love to be like you when I'm older, overweight, bald. How did you get into motorsport photography? Well, I applied to the FIA, put a case forward to them. They liked at that particular time, and they said I could go to testing, shit on myself. Then I applied for race by race. I applied for Melbourne, China, Bahrain. Then I got a gig shooting with Sutton Images for the rest of the year. So fairy tale run. I'm not sure at the moment what the FIA are looking for in terms of photographers, but I can tell you right now that if you're looking for a job in photography, or to get one, you need to present something to them they see value in. Bring an audience, perhaps. That's what I've got now. I've got an audience of 112,000 people on Instagram. Can't believe no one else is.
I understand. But I think that question was less about how did you get into F1 and what got you interested in motorsport. By the way it was worded, I think that's what the question was asking.
Okay. Well, I'll answer that question now.
Yeah.
I've always liked F1. Loved it, but always liked it. I went to a few races and quite thrilled to be seats down near the front with corporate boxes and stuff, as some companies and I was paying. And I went and went to Abu Dhabi. For some reason, I don't know why, I just decided I'd go to Abu Dhabi. Actually, I'd gone to Singapore with a mate. And so I had been to Singapore, I think, that year or the year prior. But anyway, I wound up in the box, Red Bull, paid the money, and then we went down into the garage. Last race of the year in 2016, standing there in the garage with the headphones on. I tell this story all the time, but if you haven't heard it before, this is generally what happened. Daniel was talking to his race engineer. It's all very quiet and calm, and it was very interesting to listen to. And I thought at that point, I'd like to photograph it. That's what got me started. That's the honest answer. A great job, says RJ Heath from Maryland.
Very nice.
Well, happy to hear that. Thank you very much. Mike Farrell, yes, South Africa.
Nick wants to know what you. I want to know what.
Pickle Nick. I've got no idea about the new rules.
Yes.
Pickle, you tell us.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Give us a little praise here, and I'll read that out for the patient folks sitting here. I've got to. Hang on. Wives and girlfriends video.
Hey, it's Laxwy.
Now, here we go. So whatever I started before, I have to drop now. You throw in some kronas, as Laxwy has done, from Sweden. Have you heard about Super Chat? Have. It's great. Pushes your question. It's a bit like legal cheating. That's the way I look at it. It's like going first class. You've got the money, throw it in, you go straight to the head of the queue, say your name, Laxwy. Now, Laxwy is doctor. He's one of Sweden's most prominent doctors and is quoted often in the media when it comes to various medical conditions. So he is a learned doctor. So we are very lucky to have a man of his standing joining us tonight, Australian time. Is this even working here? Oh, that's not.
That's
what I'm
not it.
at.
That's live.
Do you have that microphone in front of your face?
No, you.
Oh, did I?
5 seconds
Oh,
ago.
my apologies.
Yeah. was I going to say? Because I could have swore last time you said Laxmi was a
He's changed. He's
it was a
changed
member of
vocations.
Parliament.
He has. He
He was
was.
a secret member of Parliament. I remember saying that last time.
He's changed. He did a course, online course. He's now much quoted in the media. So that's off to you, my friend. Do you think F1 should have been in the forefront of fan safety, reference to COVID-19, as in coming up with enhanced masks made cheap? No. F1's just a sport. It's amazing when you say, "Oh, F1 should be doing this. F1 should be doing that." It's just a game. It's just a bit of fun. I don't think they have to be like a government, but they do have a conscience. I think what they've done this year is pretty darn good to get it where it is, where we are going racing. I didn't think they'd do it. I'm still not even sure we're going to be continuing on every race. It just seems phenomenal that we've been able to get away with this. Obviously got some sway with the governments in places to be able to bring a couple of thousand people into the country and run a sporting event televised all over the world. And I haven't found out what the like on television. I would have thought they would have been up.
Thank you. Oh.
Laxwi says he's a jack of, we would say a jack of all trades in Australia, but a jack of many trades is certainly understood. I go pro after Googling. Right, okay.
And you also know, just missed it. Now his alert pops up on the screen. See where that green box is?
Yes.
That's exactly where it was a moment ago.
Okay.
So he is both glorified in chat and on screen.
Normally, I would do these videos in my studio in my office in Perth. Well, it's actually East Perth. But it was just much easier. House tonight, so it's not quite as nice about. I think, given that we're 70 about, that we've probably been able to get away with it. Would you like to see a race in New York? Throttle girl, would I? Would I like to see? New York is a long way from Perth. I'd like to see a race in Perth. Where else? Adelaide. Yeah, New York might be all right. I remember. I don't know, where would we race? Around the city, perhaps. Are there tracks in? Where would we race? I will tell you that I was in New York 2 years ago. I went from Canada back to New York, and I had 3 days there while I was waiting to go to Baku because that was the next race. I rolled up at the airport on the day I'm supposed to fly, and I get out there, and Azerbaijan Airlines, no one at the counter, is dead. Hello? I'm 2 hours before my flight, ready to go, and I've had a look at my ticket. Yeah, I'm a day late, and they don't fly that day, so I have to go and stay at the Airport Hilton in New York, which is a shocking job. It's barely better than a motel, and I had a day just killing time because I didn't want to go back into New York City. Expensive and race. But yes.
Before you move on to the next question, say, hey Keeper, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Asked a question about hypothetically, if you had been able to go to a race, which team hypothetically most like to shoot for?
Okay. Now, it comes to mind Ferrari, but they're quite demanding. Look, I think I'd like to shoot for McLaren. Yeah, I think I have not most, but certainly the majority. My most favourite driver is Lando, in terms of those people that follow. So of the 112,000, has way more 20th support. So I think that would be good. And yeah, I like the team. They're good fun. Know a few of the blokes there. Then I don't think I'd want to go down to Alpha, because struggling at the back of the field, as is Williams. I'd like to be mid top, but Mercedes, I think, would be very regimented and allow me to do it. Thank you for your question, Eva. If you want to jump to the top of the queue, most welcome. Go on to Super Chat. I have my full attention, I guarantee that. Liam O'Donnell, Throttle Girl, there is a Formula E race in Brooklyn each year. Yes, and did I see that there were 6 races in a row of Formula E in Berlin? Changing the tracks around. If it wasn't 6, it was a lot. It's out at...
How many tracks are there in
No,
Berlin to
no,
race?
there's only... That's at the old airport, and I've been there. Jason and I went there. We went to Berlin on our trip around Germany, which was lovely. We went out to that airport that used to be in operation. Now it's just concrete. So they set up the track there at that... Starts with T. Tegel Airport. Germans are listening. Do we have any people from Europe? Because I think we've got mostly English speakers. Liam O'Donnell, Brianna Doran street race, Spironax street race, Vice. What's that one? Yeah. What? Someone's emailed me.
Yeah, at the same time.
Right. What did it say? We'll answer that question here because someone's emailed me. Said, here's Marine, drag it over a bit more. I've been following you on Insta for a while now because I'm a huge F1 fan. Oh yeah, Drusith. Does a little noise come up? You got your logo, have you? Is that your logo?
Still on.
Bloody, you're ambushing my bloody broadcast.
Hey, I would only learn from the best here.
Yeah, I know. Somebody noticed my watch too. You're observant. Certainly, the big pilot's watch, which of course you would see Lewis wear, and you would also see Valtteri wear. And Drusith, I will come to you in just a second, but while I'm on this thing, I did see Lewis recently. The second race of the year, if not the first, had a brand new IWC big pilot's watch on, a version of a one-off, an insane luxury lifestyle, which I follow on Insta. Did a little story on. Can't put a value on it. It's linked with the Black Lives Matter movement. Now, Drusith, would you want to see a race in Las Vegas? I would be there at the drop of a hat. I go to Vegas a lot, and a lot. Well, from someone from Australia, not like someone from LA, but I've probably been there 12 times last 25 years. That's a lot, considering it takes us every bit of 32 hours to get there. Yeah, I'd like it. I think there's a lot to do. I think it's a party city. I don't know where you'd race. They've got a nice speedway there, but that wouldn't be much shot for an F1 race. They did, of course, have that race around the Caesars car park many years, but I don't think there'll be that then. So thank you for your question. Now,
Mike asked an question about the halos being closed in perspex, like in the, and why they should or shouldn't.
Well, they tried it with a race I was at, I remember, and Seb said he felt ill with it afterwards.
I couldn't imagine it. One, it would mess with the aerodynamics of the car as well, quite heavy.
Yeah.
And two, how would it work?
Well, I've got photos of it.
Yeah.
Where was that? It's too hard for me to find it. I would waste time, and I know your time is valuable, so cognizant of that. Thank you to those people on Instagram who are still with us. You can certainly head over to YouTube.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Also, if you're watching the YouTube, aren't subscribed to Kim's channel, which I'm sure most are, sub button now.
It's no great inconvenience to you, I promise that.
It's only a gain.
Yeah. Have to move over a bit. I've been following you on Insta for a while now because I'm a fan. I love your pictures. Well, I love taking them. Thank you for that. Marine. I started going to races myself as well. I fell in love with the track, as most people do. It's addictive. I've always wanted to get into photography, but didn't really find something that I wanted to start shooting until now. Start doing motorsport. any tips for me about some good beginner gear? There are so many options in lenses, bodies, a bit overwhelmed. What are some things I should pay attention to buying? Do you have any recommendations starting out, or maybe some stuff I could read to learn more about photography? To start, you should go and watch all my videos because you learn a little bit there, and certainly in regards to kit. But if I was to suggest something for a starter, and I don't know your budget, if you have an unlimited budget, you'd go and get a Canon 1DX Mark III or the equivalent Nikon, and you'd probably get yourself 600mm Mark II lens. Cost you about 13,000 Australian dollars. And then you would get yourself a 70 to 200 lens because it's so versatile, and then probably 16 to 35, and that would give you 3 separate ranges: wide angle, medium, long. But got a tight budget, probably get yourself maybe a Canon 7D, be a good sports camera. Too small now. Hold that 7D, and having held this bloody heavy thing for so long, I just think blinky. And then lens-wise, you'd probably get yourself cheaper, 70. Hopefully that helps you. Now, I hope I don't have to answer that question via email. I'll just direct them to how many minutes into this video.
Now, the 7200 cheaper option is the option. Buy a second-hand previous model, and that'd be very cheap.
Yeah.
Not just an F2.
Right. Paul Hawthorne, thank you for answering my question about kneeling. Your photography is fantastic. Well, there hasn't been much of it this year, unless you're following me on the Lancelin Instagram page or the lancelin.com.au website or the Lancelin Facebook page, this is a town that I have a home in, and I spend the weekends there. And when I was in lockdown, I spent the whole 7 weeks up there. It's on the beach. Quite lovely. 700. I tend to do a lot of work promoting it, and when there's no F1, it gets all of my attention. Else for me to do if I'm not in my office in Perth at messages on.
Someone up earlier was asking about what you think of Giovinazzi's lack of media.
Yeah, he doesn't get much. I'm sure he gets a lot in Italy, but well, he's a really nice fella. Look, they're all nice people. They're all nice people. But for me, if I put a picture up of him or he's the second driver of Williams, Nicholas Latifi. I think, oh, I'll go and put a photo up of those guys, and it just bombs all the time. It bombs, and even Lance Stroll, to a certain extent, bombs. But when he came third in quali the other race, I put 2 pictures of him smiling on my Instagram page, and they were crackers. They took off. There was about 9 or 10,000 likes, and never before have I had that from Lance. But I think it was because he did so well that day, and those 2 pics I have of him smiling are very rare shots. It's like getting yourself a Rolex Daytona sent to you by the local jeweler. It doesn't happen very often. So Drusith, who do you think is the most underrated and most overrated, or are the most underrated and overrated drivers on the grid? That's a little bit hard because I know a lot of these guys. I don't want to say they're overrated. Underrated. Who would I say is underrated? Oh, I think they're all rated correctly. I think Lewis is the very best, and obviously, probably Antonio Giovinazzi's down the bottom at the moment. I think the Williams are even faster than him at the moment. But I don't. Is there anyone in a car that is just so far ahead of that car that if they put in, say, in Valtteri's seat, they'd blitz Lewis? I don't know. I honestly don't know enough about that side of things. I think I'm more of a people person and a photography person. So that's where my expertise lie. Can you talk a little about the settings? It's so confusing. There's so many buttons. I got no idea what they do. You got any idea?
I think the most basic settings for basic. So talk about a long exposure and
Yeah. Okay. So if I want blur the background and have the car sharp, I need to go to a long exposure. So a long exposure in photography might be a 20th of a second. Could be a sixth of a second. Now, the very best guys in F1, I don't think anyone can get a shot reliably at a sixth of a second where the car is super sharp very often. That's a bit like with lottery. Certainly at an eighth or a tenth, the really good guys could nail it. And once you get up to a 20th, problem at all for me, and 30th, almost anyone can get 100th. So if you want to go blurry background, got a pen, the car, focus dot on the guy's head, helmet sharp in most instances, and then you play around with the dials like that. Most of the time I shoot in aperture priority, so I'll work out what I want for my aperture. We're at 1.2 on my lowest lenses. Sometimes I flip it over to the other one, TV, but and I don't do this terribly often. Sometimes when the clouds are going in and out, or I want to do something, I'll go to manual. I have no problem shooting manual, quite enjoy it, but I've had a couple of instances where I've been caught. So I set manual up, and it's bright sunshine, and you're not looking, and a cloud comes over, and here comes the cars, and the cloud goes straight in front, and then bang, you've got the wrong settings. So at least if you're in an automatic mode in TV or AV on a Canon, you know that the camera will look itself. But yes, it is tricky, and that's the thing. You've got to know what sort of shot you want so that you can set your camera up for it. Because if you've got bright section of the picture and you've got a dark section of the picture, you have to tell the camera what you want to be exposed. Dark section, so that you've got to bring all the levels up and then the background blows out, or do you want the bright section to be in focus and in the correct exposure, in which case the dark section will be black. Now that might be a situation. I shot a pic like this tonight. There was a guy out on a jetty fishing, and we had a beautiful sunset behind him, so I figure, right, sunset is my focus, so I'll expose for the sunset, and it means that obviously it's quite bright. He's in between me and the sunset, so he comes in. It's a silhouette shot. I knew what I wanted, and I was happy with the end result there. So let's have a look. Mr. Anonymous, Russell, not be in that, William. Okay, told him that. Needs to know that. If he shouldn't be in that car, he needs to know that. He's a lovely fella, and I met his parents going back at the last year at testing. Lovely people. If you ever get a chance to go to testing, it's very tricky to go at post-season because it's a closed session, but it's great. We get 10 hours, shoot these drivers, and they're out on track all day just about. They move about the paddock, relaxed. Some of the greatest shots, drivers in that particular time, because there's no one around. And they are more than happy to stop and have a chat with you and pose for you. Funny, like Nico Hulkenberg with that crazy shot I got from him. That was the year before last, end of the season. Great. ISO auto, no. I will always pick my own ISO, unless I'm doing something that's really tricky that has a need for me to go to auto. ISO, by the way, for those who aren't photography people, is the setting on a camera that how sensitive the sensor is. Briefly, if you've got bright sunshine, you might have it down to 100 or 50. My camera goes to 50 ISO. And if you want to shoot the moon, not the moon, stars at night, you might have it up at 26,000. So that just determines how sensitive the sensor on the digital camera is. Which motorsport would you choose to shoot after F1? I don't think I'd like Formula E. hear that noise, the high-pitched squeal, I think. And to me, it looks a bit like a gymkhana, a motorkhana, where everyone's quite tight, and I wouldn't want to do that. Maybe that DTM thing would be of interest. I know, motorcycle race, beautiful picture there. And in fact, I was coming from Dresden to somewhere last year. We're on the freeway, and there was a traffic jam, and we realised it was because there was a motorcycle GP, a MotoGP on at that particular track, and I had no idea. Had I known, I might have been able to perhaps get accreditation for that, go and shoot that. I did also think of shooting Bathurst this year in Australia, and Bathurst, for those Australians, you'll know that's a long race. It's pretty much #1 motorsport event of the year. Happens at Mount Panorama, which is outside Sydney. But it would involve me having to do 2 weeks quarantine when I came back to Australia. I just don't think enough that I'd want to spend 2 weeks locked in a hotel without being able to. Okay, some of your questions. Remember, you can go to the head of the queue by going to Super Chat. Cheating the system. Are we still having problems with the audio? Some people are in some places, and that's disappointing. But anyway, I'll be back shortly, maybe dodgy something up, who knows. And we're still on, are we still on Instagram? Yes, but we're telling people to come over to YouTube. What is the best affordable camera for photography? Possibly the cheapest. Oh, I haven't bought a camera like that in years. Not that thing there that you've got.
Definitely not. But probably one of the best, most versatile is the EOS RP. Yeah, so audio problems we can't fix it.
Bloody
I
YouTube.
tried it. It's cannot fix it. They gave us a suggestion down here. You can see it says to go 128.
Yep,
Audio
we tried
rate.
that.
I went and did it. That's all I could think of. So
Okay.
sorry guys, it's a little bit choppy.
Audio is a mess.
It's going up in and out. It
Is
seems
it?
to be okay. That's how I know. If I go and check it on there and monitor it, it's perfect.
Well, maybe we tell people to go to Instagram, but we don't want you doing.
No.
But anyway, jump across to Instagram at Kim Ellman, and you'll find my feed there. What are we back to here? 58. Manual or autofocus? Well, that's an interesting point. Autofocus a lot of the time, but sometimes you can't shoot autofocus. And I'll give you a couple of examples where a car comes over a hill quickly. You don't get a chance really focus to get it in focus in the split second that it comes over a hill. So I will often take a shot and I'll look at the shot in the back of my camera and go, right, that is sharp. I won't touch the focus. I'll set it to manual and I'll just wait for that car to come again and know that back here it's out of focus, gets better, sharp, out of focus again. And know that that's the way to do it. But there is no hard and fast rule. Yeah, but the beauty of shooting autofocus is that if you shoot 12 frames, the car's going past you, all 12 should be sharp. Whereas if you shoot manual and you only get a couple of frames that are sharp, you're hoping that nothing happens before the sharp frames or after the sharp frames. And of course, nobody is, don't really want to take a punt on that. It's horses for course. I shot Formula E in New York City. It was a blast. Very close racing. Yes, it is close racing. And I think from reports that the paddock is a bit more. Oh no, in America at NASCAR, apparently hunters can come into the paddock. They just pay a small surcharge and they can get into the paddock. So they get, and this is Marcus Ericsson, right on the video interview I did with him on the way. Some of you are now, thank you for that. He did make mention of the fact that there's lots more people in the paddock. Whereas in F1, rare earth, you're very lucky to get in there normally, let alone now. If you're in there now, very lucky, or you're working your bum off. Jasper wants a few tips. photography? Well, you should go and watch my YouTube videos on shooting F1 because I go into a few.
What is the one tip you would, other than background? That's the one you're
Yes.
giving. You have to pick another tip apart from background, which is undeniably the most less the subject than the background.
Okay. And this happened tonight, and I shot some shots because I may end up doing some photography tutorials. This particular shot was of this guy fishing on the jetty. So we had on the horizon there might have been a couple of degrees of beautiful pink sky, and then it went to a bit of black and then very bright sky above. And I had a zoom lens. So one shot I framed so that the top of the pink coloured sky was the top of my frame and the bottom of the jetty. So all we had was pink up this top half, the guy standing here silhouetted. Now if I zoom out, I get the pink, yes, but then above it, black and terrible and even brighter at the top. So my thinking there, I thought, right, well, people have to know how to frame a shot. And if you've got a zoom lens, you can frame it. That shot to me was good. I had just nothing but the pink sky behind the guy. Terrible when I had the pink sky middle of the shot and some crap above. That's a tip that I would give you. And it's something that we all learn. And I'll be better than some of you at photography and not as good as some of you at photography. So we're all at this little stepping stone where hopefully we're all getting smarter and better at it. But who's up the top here? Who is that person up the top?
That tip is focus on.
Yes, and don't be aware that if you go too wide, there's stuff in there that does nothing to the shot. Get rid of it in the camera. Don't wait until after you're getting back to edit it. Ideally, best photographers are the ones that take a shot and they send it straight from the camera and it's brilliant. You don't need to do any more cropping too much in terms of color processing or whatever. So straight out of the camera is the ideal. Now, of course, not always that easy to do, especially when you're doing that slow panning. I've watched all of them. Well done, Jasper. I'm such a huge fan of your photos. Well, thank you very much. I'd be interested to know how you found my stuff. In fact, all of you, how did you come across what I do?
Yeah.
Very
good question. Also, another good question. Gary, it's who are your favourite photographers? I think you should list some photographers on F1.
Okay, well, I like Florent Gooden from DPI Images, and he did some shooting for me at the first two races. And then I realised that all the shots that I wanted to get, I could hardly get because there just was no ability to move around. I like Vladimir Reese for his editing. His consistent quality in his editing, and it's like a beautiful blue because he shoots only for Red Bull, or primarily for Red Bull. I like Glenn Dunbar, shoots for Racing Point. Brilliant photographer. And Mark Thompson from Getty Images, because he's a great photographer and a funny guy, and he's been very helpful to me. Apart from that, I like Joe McNally. I like Geordie. What's his name? Geordie. Yeah, look up Jordi. His pictures aren't technically great, but his ideas are fantastic. Jordi. No, you do it. You do it. Yeah. Yeah. So if you can show these good people.
Jordi Cole. Oh,
yeah.
Oh, the Instagram guy. Yeah, he's fantastic.
He's clever. I came across your profile last year on Insta. Love your work. Do you have photos of Juan? Not racing, not Juan Pablo Montoya racing. I've got photos of him in the paddock with his son. I think that was. Yeah, so this fella here, he's very clever with the way he sets up his shots. But when you go to Instagram, which we are here, he's not frightened to tell you how he shoots these images, like the one here you're looking at of the girl with the Kit Kat bar flakes. It looks like she's snapping it. She is snapping it, but the flakes aren't coming from the bar. Someone's dropped. Here, go to the second. See, there's a little video. You can even watch it. Someone's sprinkling stuff.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay, that's good. He is very clever. I see some of his stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what's wrong with mine.
Yeah,
I think it's got to do with your app.
See, let's go up a bit and hopefully. Yeah. No, look at this shot here. Right.
How about that?
This is stuff he makes. I have been a little bit inspired to do something similar with F1, but have a look at what he's done.
Oh, that's fantastic.
It's just a shot that the lens stays open for, what is that, 10 seconds?
Probably longer.
Yeah.
Longer.
He's good. Who else do I love to look at? As I think of them, I will throw in there.
Asking about Romeo.
Liam O'Donnell. Is that our Liam, is it?
I think so.
Romeo is a dog that Tyler and girlfriend have. Pomeranian. About this big. It's a yappy little thing. Funny. I saw you on the telly and Martin Brundle was talking about you. And I went, he was talking about me? Martin Brundle?
My God.
I don't recollect that, Jasper. When was that? I remember in at the German GP, he came down to the last corner while I was there. Is that what you're talking about? Because I remember I was in the background of his shot. He may not have talked about me in particular. I don't think he did anyway, but he certainly talked about the fact that we were shooting that corner. Anyway, I'm interested to hear that because I've not heard that prior. Juan Diego Correal. Now that will be a Latin American name. I'm certain of that. I came across your profile. Oh yes, we talked about Juan Pablo. Can I have Seb's photo, please? Yes. Go to prostarpics.com. Have any of my photos you want. They're all available for sale. Even or go to kimellman.com if you want to buy prints, or if you want to buy books, F1 driver books, they are available at Kim. Printed on demand. That's the greatest thing for me, that I can go ahead and I can produce one book. So if I only ever get one order for Antonio Giovinazzi, still do a book. That's the thing. You wouldn't find too many people having photo books on one particular driver, because if it's normal publishing, you need to have a certain number of books before it becomes comical. Nobody wants Antonio Giovinazzi if they don't think they can sell them, which I couldn't sell 500, maybe Italian photography. I saw you in Drive to Survive, squinting with the bucket hat on. Liam, you did, and that is 6 minutes before the end of episode 10. But I'm also in a couple more, but perhaps I only pick me out because I know where I'm standing. Tyler, you're in one too, in a wide shot, at the start of the season. Oh. Yeah, I think so.
That's it.
I really love taking pictures, sunsets and nature with my phones. Do you have any advice for this type of photography? Okay, so I was talking to a guy who I did a live one-on-one chat with a fella who had quite an interesting story about how to monetize photography. But that aside, yes, with your mobile phone, perhaps it's not really with nature shots, but certainly with people shots. It pisses me off deluxe when people put up pictures on Instagram where they're not meant to do a silhouette shot. It's just by accident. You can't see the people's face because they shoot into the sun. It's very bright in the background, and they have no idea how to manually change the exposure so that you can see the person's face. Don't do that. It's so annoying. You've got to have a reasonable idea of how that little phone thing changes the exposure. The other thing, don't shoot from eye height. almost everybody shoots from however high their eye is from the ground. I love shooting low. And I did one the other night.
Get up some stuff on iPhone photography. I'd like to do a little bit every now and then. When all you have is your one tip that I would give, your iPhone camera is not that good. Realistic, very good, but it's not that good. You can tell it's not a really nice camera. What I do is I tend to take them into Lightroom, edit them, stylize them. It doesn't have to be super crisp, nice picture. So, good, but I like to turn mine into.
It can't even focus.
If I had ducked my. Maybe.
Oh yeah, that's focused.
So,
there you go.
So, that's just sand dunes, like Kim was saying, taken from the ground. I put my phone on the ground, and then made it look very stylized so that.
Okay, you said on the ground. Here's a shot that I took. Will that focus?
Yeah, will if I duck my head.
Yeah, that phone is placed on the ground.
I can get that on the.
Doesn't matter anyway. And it's a much more interesting shot than when shot from waist height or eye height.
Exactly right.
So
Exactly
do
what I was
that.
saying. And edit them as well. Get the Lightroom mobile app, which is a very powerful app. Learn how to do basic stuff to make it look.
What is the best way to get into photography, videography, and F1? Have a very large circulation magazine or newspaper. Best way, and one I'm sure would like to have more content than that here. But otherwise, I can't tell you. Get into, and certainly you wouldn't want to be trying this year. Forget it. You're wasting your time. Even those of us who are allowed to go can't. Hello, Ben Kirby.
I would suggest Jasper asked a question. He said, "Is there a way I could send you one of my photos that I took?"
Yeah, send it in an envelope with some cash, and no, you can by all means. Can he send it through here?
No, but what I was gonna, he could send it through the Discord that I have. That would pop up really easily. My Discord. But what I was gonna say is, I've been trying to get you for some time to do some sort of series where people send you their pictures and you edit them the way you would do it.
know.
Now, people, what do you guys think of that? Also,
Do you have any interesting stories on Charles Leclerc? I don't know what you determine as interesting. He's a very cool, measured guy, business-like, hard on himself, management around. Interesting. There you go. How about Instagram?
Yeah,
You could send it via Instagram. Yes.
If you were to send it via that link, it means I could pop it up on the screen if you wanted us to talk about it now.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying.
Well, let's do that right now.
Even you could send it through, we could put it in Lightroom.
Yeah, you might try that.
If it's a RAW or a JPEG quality.
What are you looking at over here? Any idea what time? Right, so are people watching it on this?
No, they can't.
Are they watching it on Twitch?
No, because
Right.
Twitch thing. Also, shameless plug. My Twitch is linked down below. You can watch me live stream as well. I less about F1 and more stuff. Saw someone followed just a second ago.
Thank you for following. We've got a couple more minutes left to go before we leave. Why is Seb so private? No idea. Probably doesn't need the attention, I would figure. Any chance for a Christmas lights comeback, Liam? No. No, Liam, never going to happen. And if you want to have a look at my Christmas lights, go to my search on YouTube, Kim Illman Gangnam Style Christmas lights. They're pretty impressive. Ellen DeGeneres featured show. An uplift.
Did she? I did not know that.
Yes, plugged it. Any
Right.
updates on silly season? Rumours on Seb? Yeah, I think Seb's going to go. But of course, I don't think even Seb knows yet. Who knows? I know Daniel didn't know till made the decision. So while everyone's saying he's going or he's doing this or he's staying, they had no idea because Daniel didn't know. Still, very hard too for anyone to keep. If Seb said, "Yeah, we're going to sign a deal, great, we're ready to go," but we're going to keep it quiet for 3 weeks, forget it. For 3, something will come out, whether it be deliberately leaked or accidentally leaked. Find out. What's your thoughts on Ian Valtteri's not vegan? Is that right? They said they're not vegan. He had pizza night, didn't he? Yeah. I don't care about that.
Now,
Does anyone care what they eat? I wouldn't have thought.
well, I don't know what's wrong with my mouse. It's not working. Now, I saw someone ask about what you think about Alonso coming. Whoever's coming back to.
Yeah, Fernando,
right?
opinions on Fernando coming back next year. I'll enjoy shooting his girlfriend Linda. She's lovely. She's considerably taller than him, but she can't drive as far. That's fast. Where's he going? He's going to Renault. I don't think he's going to more luck than Daniel Ricciardo. I think he'll. I think Daniel will beat him next. I only think that based on what we're seeing now, and I don't know that much. And the technology side of things. What are you trying to do? Get this gentleman?
This mouse to work. There's too many devices in the room.
Right.
The computer. That's why I should turn it off before. So what I am going to do, I'm going to pull up this picture very quickly before I get it in Lightroom. Now the problem with sending it over is it's been compressed, so we'll have lost data and information. But what I'm going to do is switch. As soon as this mouse works,
Gotcha. You should have a connected mouse.
Yeah. Get one. So here we are. We're on Lightroom now. We're going to edit.
Jespers, I think.
There you go. How would you edit that?
Well,
See, I know how I would edit that.
Got
That out of the way. Just scoop.
have a look here. I would bump up the shadows and I'd drop the highlights a bit. And I do that with almost every photo. Sometimes not as much as that. I would do that to almost every photo. A little bit of that. I get down here. Oh yeah. Oh bloody hell. Look, it's not a great photo. I don't even know what I'm looking at there.
It looks like a tree.
It is, and with a bit of water behind it.
So yeah, if we were to maybe nitpick lightly, if I was to be say there's no real subject, and as a result there's no real background either.
No.
So when taking a picture, the most important thing are your subject and your background.
Yeah.
Plus it's JPEGs.
Yeah. I don't like the shot.
If I was to try and make this thing, I would.
That will go straight in the delete bucket for me, I'm afraid.
Make it a background. Try and just make.
The important thing is to shoot in RAW.
Yeah, if you have the.
Yeah, and you've got all this graining up the top here.
Purpose.
Are people seeing this?
Yep.
Oh, good, good, good.
So I'm doing that graining on
Yeah.
purpose.
Yeah, look, I wouldn't even bother editing that.
See.
You can do anything to it. Look, when I do stuff at the track, I will spend no more. Most times it's 15 seconds tops editing something. If it's a really nice pic and I want to do a little bit more, and perhaps I need to put a graduated filter on there, I need to go and get rid of a bit of crap on the sensor, I might spend a minute. But certainly I don't have the time to be able to spend the time that, say, someone like a Vladimir Reese does, because I will produce 200 photos a day, maybe 250 photos a day of lots of different drivers and different scenarios, whereas someone like Vlad who's shooting for Red Bull, he might only have to come up with 5, but they'll be crackers, bangers. Now, with that said, one more question, actually 2 more, one from the general queue and one from the super chat. Finish up on. Will you send the edited version? Tyler, will you? Oh, it's Jasper, not Jesper. Sorry, Jasper. Yes.
Jasper, I can send it to you after the live stream. Yeah, I tried to make it look not even like a tree, to make it look like a phone background. I know. If you want to start somewhere with iPhone photography, take pictures of green trees and blue skies. Point your camera up, nice looking green tree and a blue sky. That's where I would start. Sounds really silly, but that's where I would start.
Right.
Because you can turn that into a nice looking
I'll show you what I did today as a Formula One. And 2 more questions for something I'm doing. What? An ad client. That. Now that won't hear as lush, but yeah, that took about an hour to do, with getting all those fruit and vegetables, getting the basket, weighting it all down, because you've got to, it's not chock-a-block full of vegetables and fruit underneath that, it's all padded up. And then we had to, this was in my studio in Lancel. Yeah, I was very happy with that. I think that's going to be quite nice. Yeah, it's not finished. It's just pretty much straight out of the camera with a little bit of whitening at the back. But there it is. Where is the best place to shoot at Britain? Oh, it's a horrible track for photography, I find, because I imagine talking about Silverstone. It's got these huge long runoffs everywhere. Okay, the best place is the Maggots and Beckett's, which is a bit crude. What's a shocking name for a corner, isn't it?
When you play F1 2020, then you game.
What's that?
You know how we played the F1 game?
Yeah.
They've released it.
Right.
People want you.
Oh, hate it.
It would destroy him.
Oh. Right, just give me a second.
Paul also would like to know, I think there's going to be next
End of the season, maybe.
Yeah.
This is the spot here. This is my favourite spot to shoot. This is Maggots and Beckett's, and they come past frighteningly quick. And as you can see, there's nothing between us and the car except a little bit of core flute there, down the bottom there. And if we happen to lose our balance and topple over, we're in all sorts of strife. That's my favourite spot, and there are a few others. Oh, no, don't mind this shot at the BRDC. Yeah, it's on the inside of that corner with BRDC on the outside. And our final question. I can't find anyone I want to answer here. That's it. Good night. We're going to go. Well, good afternoon to you. And I'll expect to see all of you at kimellman.com ordering your favourite driver book or a print. Go on your wall, or a one-to-one session if you've got specific questions that you think I might be able to answer for you and might get some value out of it. So thank you again, and bye-bye from Kim.
Yep, I was going to say bye-bye, and don't forget to subscribe to Kim if you aren't already on YouTube. If you aren't following on Instagram for him, follow him on Instagram. Also, my Twitch is linked below. You should go follow on Twitch. I'm hopefully going to be playing COD with Callum Ilott, the F2 driver, later tonight. So, yeah.
COD. Excuse me a second here. Pause due to poor connection. Oh no, because you haven't been on this shot. People have been hearing your voice.
Yes.
And
hello
poor,
to the 25 Instagram viewers.
yeah, Thalita Hellfire from the Netherlands. She has no idea what you look like. And Robbie McIntyre from Aberdeen, Scotland. And Roger Tisson from the Netherlands. All these, oh shit, they're all down here.
Oh, far out. Oh,
Yeah.
wow. It wasn't auto-scrolling.
Oh, it wasn't auto-scrolling, so my apologies, people.
Right.
Can I get a free print? You know the answer to that question. You can buy it like the rest of the people. Anyhow, so say goodbye to YouTube.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye, YouTube.
Have a look at all the links in Kim's description. Don't forget to follow. And yeah, we'll say goodnight as soon as my mouse keeps
Be
working.
nice to each other.
Yeah. Mouse will work.
Can I get a best wishes from Bulgaria? Oh.
Really dodgy.
No, get rid of that.
Right, mouse.
Right, thanks for the free print. You know, why isn't that scrolling? Nathan's.
Anyway, goodbye, YouTube. Thank you
I
very
thought
much.
we'd gone.
No, I kept saying we weren't. Thank you very much for a fun stream. Check out the links below. Goodbye, everyone.